YouTube, what's good? It's Brian, and today we're going to be going over the More Money, More Ice music video directed by Cole Bennett. We're going to be going over the top 5-ish effects that he did in the music video and how to get the overall aesthetic that he did throughout the music video. To save us some time, I already lined up the 5 clips in Premiere that we're going to be going over, so we don't have to watch the whole music video. So I'm going to be going over those 5 briefly, and then I'm going to be breaking them down step by step. So the first effect we have here is this effect that he did a freeze frame, but he did a little bit more interesting because he outlined where Lil Skies' wife beater was, and he cut out 4 or 5 different parts of him and had them come in at different times. So that's pretty simple. We'll be going over that. This next effect is this collage effect where he just took stills from the video, added some grain on it, bumped up the color a little bit, and then used it as a transition so it completely blocked the screen, and then the next clip came in after. And this third effect here, we're going to be going over very briefly, is how to make a person disappear, like how he had Lil Skies disappear in this scene. That's also very simple, just takes a little planning when you're shooting the actual video yourself. And then this fourth effect is very similar to the second one where he had the collage of Lil Skies coming up and blocking the screen. He did the same thing with money. So I'm going to be going over how to do that, maybe how to make it a little bit more interesting, and also where to get these high quality money assets. And then lastly, here's this effect where Lil Skies is separated from the background. Cole kind of made him a little bit more desaturated, and then the background more orangish. So that's also pretty simple, and we're going to be going over just how to do that. Before we get started, I just want to show you guys how Cole did this overall aesthetic that he did. He did the Super 8 4x3 frame with some grain. And the assets we're going to be using here are by Cinepacks. They watched my last Lyrical Lemonade video breakdown, and they reached out to me and sent me out some free packs, as well as gave you guys a little discount code. If you use the code Brian5, you'll get $5 at checkout. So those are the packs we're going to be using. They're pretty high quality. I've played with them briefly, and I really enjoy them so far, and I definitely see myself using them in multiple music videos. So what I did is I imported the 50D 4x3 no sprocket overlay, and all you have to do here is just drag it into your frame above your actual video footage. And if it's not showing up right away, it's probably because it's in a different setting. So all you have to do is go to scale to frame, and then it'll automatically apply it like that. And then I got the 50D grain and dragged that on top of the video footage as well, and then went to overlay and clicked overlay. And as you can see there, it was super simple to get the aesthetic that he was going for too, and it just gives it that little old feel. Now, if you want to complete the aesthetic, maybe go into Lumetri color, go to your basic adjustments, bump up the temperature a little bit, maybe crank the highlights up, a little bit of contrast, bring up the whites, go to creative, and then crank up the faded film just a little bit. And there you go. It's very close to the aesthetic that Cole was doing in the music video. Super simple to do. So if you want those packs, go click the link in the description and use my code. But yeah, let's get into breaking down those 5 effects now. So to do the first effect where it breaks down Lil Skies into 4 different segments and then he comes together is a freeze frame. So what you're going to want to do is go to where you want the frame to transition into. So just find a still that you want to cut out, and then go over here to this export frames button. If you don't see that, just click this plus sign and then add it in and then click OK. But yeah, just click here, make sure you save it to somewhere where you're going to find it, and then name it. Then once you've saved the clip, go ahead and open that up in Photoshop by opening it up. Then once you've opened it in Photoshop, what you're going to want to do is find the place in the photo where you want to segment them. So maybe like on different shirt sleeves or the head and the body. You can do whatever you want. So I'm just going to do what Cole did here and just do each arm and then the tank top and his head. So 4 different ones. So what you're going to want to do is just outline each arm one at a time. As you can see here, I'm doing a really rough job. It's not going to really matter much once you do the effect because they're only up for a few seconds each anyways, and I noticed what he did. So then once you're done outlining, connect the paths, then click make selection, and then you'll see these dotted ants come around, and then you can just click Control J. So as you can see here, here's just the arm. And then once you do that, make sure you're clicked on the bottom layer or the overall image layer, and then do the same for each section that you want to split up. Now I already went ahead and did this just to save a little time in the tutorial. So what you're going to want to do is make sure you turn off every layer besides one layer at a time. Go to File, Save As, make sure you click PNG and then name it as whatever you want, so like left arm. But since I already did that, I'm not going to do that. And then, for example, if you had multiple, say that was the right arm or whatever, just make sure you turn off the other layer and then save it. So you're going to need to save it 4 or more times depending on how many different segments you have. So then once you saved all the layers, go ahead and import them into Premiere. And what I did here is I just made a freeze frame of the clip, so it's just this without Lil Skies, and it pops in Lil Skies. But you can use this on whatever transition you want. Like this could just be a clip before, and then it can go into the next clip. But I'm just going to do the exact same one that Cole did. So drag in whatever body part or whatever part of the subject you want to come in first. And I'm going to allow it 3 frames before it even comes in, and then 3 frames until the next part. And we're going to do, I don't really remember exactly what he did, but make sure you keep this throughout the whole time. And then we're going to do the head, 3 frames, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to do the right arm, 3 frames in, and then 1, 2, 3. And then lastly, the full body coming in. And then obviously I made this freeze frame a little too long. So what I'm going to do is just cut it here. Make sure they line up. So what you're going to do is just line it up with the last clip before the person comes in. And there you go. You got the tank top freeze frame transition effect. Pretty quick and simple to do. On to the next one. So as you can see in this next effect, it's just 4 different images overlaid over each other with a lot of grain and the temperature cranked up on the warm side. So what you can do is you can just go throughout the video and find a way where you like where the person's standing or whatever, and then do the same thing we did with the last effect where you cut out the person. So what I'm going to do is just drag in a clip that I already have cut out. It's the same process. So once you go ahead and cut out the person, I'm just going to show you a few little things you can do to make it a little bit more interesting. So you can go ahead and go to filter and then go to noise and add noise, just to kind of bump up the noise a little bit, and we'll bring it up to something like 10. So that way it adds a lot of noise. And then once you add the grain, just go ahead and save it as a PNG, just like we did last time. So then import the clips that or the images that you froze, and then you can just drag it in. I went 3 frames ahead of whatever, where you want the transition to start. And I'm gonna cut it here where the next clip comes in. And then just crank it up or whatever, and you can rotate it however you want. Just kind of be creative with it, make it a little bit different. There, we'll have Lil Skies like here, and then we're gonna go 3 frames, 1, 2, 3. I only have 3 images just for the sake of the tutorial. I didn't go ahead and cut out a bunch, and then play around with it, whatever looks good, and then 3 frames, and then add the last one in. And to make a different effect, you can just drag the first layers underneath, so the next layer will always go behind. And we're just gonna fill out the rest of this video, and then just so it blocks the rest of the screen. You can take more time with this and find better images or whatever. I just want to give you an example of how it's done. So then just make sure you block the whole screen, and then have the last one play for a little bit longer than 3. We could do like something like 6 or something. So we'll go ahead and drag that to 6 frames, and then drag it right before the next clip, so it's like a transition. And then here's the effect we come out with. Super cool. It's definitely not as clean as the one he did. He just took more time finding the right images, and he had a little bit more to make it a little bit more interesting. So I'd say the more images you have overall, the better it's going to look. But yeah, that's the transition. I just wanted to give you a general outline of how to do that. On to the next one. And then for this effect, what you're going to need is you're going to need some sort of money assets. The assets that I'm going to be using is the Cinepack's Money Effects pack. If not, find out a way to get your own money assets and just kind of make it your own. So first I'm going to drag in their Money Pop 1 video. So since they are 4K and I'm working in a 1080p sequence, what you're going to need to do is go to scale frame size, just make sure they're the right size. And then I'm going to do this, I'm just going to make this a still frame, kind of how Cole does in the video. And that's the cool thing about these. You don't have to use them exactly how they were intended to be used. You can kind of make up what you want to do with them. So I just made that into a still, and then I'm going to make a few others into a still. So let me do that real quick. Just going to find a spot where I like. What I'm going to do is just mask just this 100 out, and then I'm also going to frame hold on it. So it's the same thing. It's a frozen still. And then we're going to do, let's see, let me turn off these layers so I can see while I'm working. Make sure to scale this to frame size. And then something like that looks cool. So what I'm going to do is hold it here as well. Then that way that holds all the way through. So then I'm just going to go 3 frames in from when it starts, 2, 3, and then drag this one here. And let's see, make it smaller, maybe drag it somewhere down here. And then go 3 frames in, add this one in, make it a little smaller, drag it wherever you'd like. Over here is cool. And we're going to do 3 more frames, drag this one in, and let's put it up here. And then I'm going to use this hundreds wipe by them. It's a transition, so make sure to scale that to frame as well. And then you can see these hundreds start coming in. So I'm going to cut it right before it comes in, just like that. Also going to add this 4x3 they have in here, just so you have an idea of how the transition is actually going to look, so it doesn't go over the black bars. So then 3 frames from that, I'm going to start the transition. And then as soon as the transition takes up the full length or the full size of the video, I'm just going to cut the top one, go 3 frames forward, cut that one, and then go 3 frames forward and cut that one. So they come So they're gonna go out just the way they came in. And then I'm gonna shorten up this transition a little bit. So it's gonna look a little choppy, but that's what's cool. It'll look kind of just like how Cole's was. So we're gonna do that, and then we're gonna drag this a little bit back more. So that way it transitions into the next clip, just like that. So I think that's a super sick transition. Honestly, I like ours a little bit better than the one done in the video, but it's all personal preference. I just think it had a little bit more movement and looked a little cleaner. So on to the last effect is going to be the effect where he has Lil Skies desaturated and the background turned a little bit orange. So to do this effect, you're actually going to need to go into Adobe After Effects. So right click on the clip that you want it to happen to, and then right click and replace with After Effects composition. So then once Premiere finally loads up, I'm just going to cut it right here. So because that's where the effect actually starts, I'm just going to cut it by clicking Control-Shift-D so we can kind of judge how I did after. See, the effect's not taking place here. So what you're going to want to do is click on the right layer and then go to the roto brush tool and then double click on it, and it'll bring it into a layer, and then just outline your subject. And then I'm just going to go ahead and fast forward this so you guys don't have to watch all this. Then once you're done outlining it, just click freeze, and then what that's going to do is it's going to lock in the roto brush movements that you made so it can't be adjusted later. So it's going to go ahead and load through that. And then once that's done, just click close on the top layer and then go back here, and it's going to show you your roto brush. What I normally do is crank up the feather a little bit to like 10, and then sometimes bring the shift edge in just a little bit so it gets rid of some of the background that we missed. Now for the sake of the video, I did a pretty rough job. As you can see here, he loses part of his head, but you'll be able to get the same effect. So then once you're done with that, click Control-D on select while you're selected on that layer, and then go to the bottom one and then delete it. So the bottom one's going to be the background layer. Let me rename that just the background so we don't get mixed up. So then what you can do here is type in Lumetri color and drag that onto the bottom layer, and then go to basic correction, and then keyframe the temperature at the start of the clip and also the saturation, and then go to the end of it one frame before so we can actually see. Then crank up the temperature a little bit, and then the saturation as well if you want to do that. And then you're going to do the exact same thing for the subject, but what you're going to do instead is you're going to just keyframe saturation, keyframe it at the beginning actually, and then go to the end, and you can make that down to whatever you want, something like 27 here. So there's the effect. I think I did one a little heavy on the saturation and the temperature, so I'm just going to bring that down a little bit. Maybe only bring the saturation up to like 110 or something like that. And then he kind of has like a grunge look or whatever when he does that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and reopen the Cinepax Super 8, and then we're going to add the 50D grain again. So then you can just add that the layer behind, and then go ahead here and click overlay. So then it adds more of that grain effect. And what we can do here is click T, and that'll bring up opacity and keyframe it from 0 to 100 at the end, so it comes in throughout the course of the effect. And that's the effect we got here. I know it's only a few frames, just wanted to make it pretty quick. That's basically the same effect. Obviously his is a little bit different. He played around with the colors a little bit more and made it a little bit his own. But I just wanted to show you generally how to do it. That's what the point of these tutorials are for. They're not for copying effects verbatim. It's all about taking the knowledge from other videos and making it into something your own. So that was the last effect. Thanks again to Cinepax for sending out the packs. If you guys want, the link will be in the description with the information. Use code Brian5 for $5 off your purchase. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the video. So peace.